Hello and good morning. I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and I'm excited to spend the next hour with you talking about games and Vantage and lots of games that I've been playing recently. I see a comment here before we've even started from Seven Castles Games says about Dublin. I see a comment about Dublin. And I wanted to mention that we're actually planning a trip to Ireland in 2026 that I'm excited about. In fact, I'm going to talk a little bit about trip planning today because we have a few trips coming up that I'm excited about and maybe excited to get your feedback about for anyone who is in Ireland for that trip. That one I'll probably talk about a little bit later because that one's a little bit in the future. But we're also planning a brief trip to Orlando to go to the Epic Universe Park. And that's actually the main one that I want to talk about. Oh, the other one was I wrote a blog post recently about a company retreat. Retreat may not be exactly the correct word. We're just going to go all work together and hang out together in one place for a few days because we all work spread out across the U.S. And that's going to come up in, we're going to Phoenix, Arizona in the winter. So in our winter in like St. Louis, it'll be nice and warm in Phoenix. So we're looking forward to that. I wrote a post about formats for company retreats and keeping it a little structured, but also a little loose, just kind of getting to know each other better, also doing some work and talking about the future, present and future of Stonemaier Games. So looking forward to that. Any advice that people have about that sort of thing or Phoenix, I am open to that. Tony says, no Facebook stream today. Tony, I have Facebook stream checked here. So from my end, it looks like it's on Facebook, and I see actually Anthony is commenting on Facebook. So I think it is live on Facebook. Yeah, should be on Facebook as far as I can tell. So let's talk about the main topics today first. Vantage. Today I sent a Vantage update, a big Vantage update. Vantage, if you don't know, is the open world cooperative game that I've been working on for a long time. And I sent the latest update today, perhaps maybe the last big update before we actually launch it on our web store. And today I revealed the rulebook. I revealed my how to teach video. I revealed potentially the last developer diary from Garrett and Travis. They talk about how we developed the rulebook over time, how we created the rulebook. So a lot of stuff about the rules for Vantage. You can check out that on the Vantage page of our website. And it also includes a few quotes from reviewers, just early impression quotes. The reviews and playthroughs and the Watch It Played video will start to go live on Friday, on the 20th, June 20th. So if you are eager or curious to see more Vantage content, see what unbiased third-party reviewers think about the game, you can start to check that out on Friday. We are aiming for a July 9th launch date, immediately followed by shipping. That is dependent on the final stage of fulfillment to go well, or freight shipping to go well, not fulfillment. But currently it's looking pretty good. I see Chad mentions the stream that I joined professional disc golfer, Big Germ. He was playing Wingspan digital on Friday, and I joined him to chat along about disc golf and Wingspan on the stream. That is on the All Birdies No Bogeys YouTube channel, if you want to check that out. Chad also had a comment about the Disc Golf Preserve Championship. I did watch that this past weekend, and it was a lot of fun. It was a really fun tournament to watch. I see a few people saying that they can see the stream on Facebook, and a few saying they can't see it on Facebook. I don't exactly know what's going on. I just know that I can see Facebook checked. I can see some people saying that it's there. I'm sorry that it's not going to be working for everybody, but it is working on YouTube as well. So you can go over to the YouTube channel and check it out there if you want as well. Oh, I see. So Tim's saying Facebook changed the location. You have to click the icon of the page, of the Facebook page, maybe. Chrissy says, has the price point for Vantage been announced yet? Chrissy, I appreciate you asking. So far, what I've said about Vantage is that it is not our most expensive game. I won't release the price until the very day of the launch, which I know can be disconcerting for some people who want to plan ahead and budget. But if you want to budget, I would say set aside money equal to our most expensive game, which would be, I believe, the Ironclad edition of Expeditions was around $135 USD. And it will be less than that. So you can be pleasantly surprised when it is less than that. The reason that we don't announce it is that sometimes there are external factors that can affect the price at the last minute. In the current political climate, we have tariffs that might impact it at the last minute. If tariffs suddenly go up just as Vantage arrives at port. Also, one of the reasons I don't announce the price is that it can be confusing for people because there often ends up being a couple different prices. There is the MSRP, there is the discounted price that we offer at launch, and there's also the champion price, which is a 20% discount on that sale price. So it is sometimes confusing for me to announce the price because people don't know which of those prices I'm actually announcing, while it is the clearest when you can just see it on the web store and see what the price is. If you're a champion, you'll see the champion price. If you're not a champion, you'll see the non-champion price. You can even become a champion when you order Vantage. You can put the champion membership in your cart, and the discount will apply to Vantage in your cart. Also, there are 3 accessories that you can get with Vantage. So those impact the price too. If you end up adding on the player mats, the wooden skill tokens, or the metal coins, that will end up impacting the price as well. All reasons why we don't really show the price until actual launch day. Let's see. Okay, Tim is explaining how to find this on Facebook. He says there is a photo of Jamey and the Stonemaier Games logo with a red circle that says live next to the page banner. So it looks like Facebook has confusingly changed where to find the actual live stream. I am sorry about that. Steven says, theoretically, after playing Vantage plenty, if I were to consistently head east over and over, how many cards could it be before I wrap around the planet? That's a great question, Steven. If you really need to know the answer for that in advance, I'm happy to answer that question. But I would say that's something that might be more fun for you to discover while you're actually playing the game. It is, I guess the information that I put out there is that there are 800 locations in the game, and that they comprise an entire planet that you can walk north to south all the way around the world. You can walk east to west or west to east all the way around the world. Yeah. Another Stephen points out that the upgraded apiary wooden tokens will be released at the same time as Vantage. That's true. And also, some people requested extra school tokens for Wingspan, and those will actually be available for Vantage's launch as well, unrelated to Vantage, but they will be available. So if you often play Wingspan at like 4 or 5 players, and sometimes you find yourself running out of the wooden school tokens, then you'll be able to get those on our website as well. I see Carol giving a little shout out here from Chrissy. And I wanted to mention Carol because I had a nice chat with Carol and Molly at the mill yesterday. We talked about Vantage, and that interview will go live in a few days. I think they mentioned maybe later this weekend it'll go live. But we had a wonderful chat about Vantage and the design process, their thoughts on it, because they've been playing their advanced copies. So I highly recommend that interview when it's available on the Mill YouTube channel in a few days. Matt says, will the extras, those the player mats, the wooden tokens, the metal coins, will they fit in the Vantage box? The answer is yes, with a little caveat, which is the player mats, which aren't needed for the game, but they are a nice addition if you want to add them on. They will add a little bit of lid lift to the box. They also come in their own box where you can store them right next to the Vantage box if you want to. The other upgrades will fit in the box really well without any lid lift. But yeah, I want to be transparent about that. But there's a little bit of lid lift if you put the player mats in the box. Oh, someone just got just got their copy of Expeditions yesterday. Looks amazing. Thank you. I love Jakob's art. Unique art on every single card and every tile in that game. So thanks for getting Expeditions. I hope you have fun with it. Here's Carol talking about that chat that we had yesterday. It will go live Friday or Sunday. Love learning more details about the 8-year Vantage journey. And thanks for your curiosity and questions, Carol, and enthusiasm for the game. I really appreciate that. Some other things that I've been, well, actually, let's finish the topics that I mentioned in the post, and I can come back to Vantage. Any questions you have about Vantage, the rulebook, anything that I revealed today, I'm happy to talk about that. Inkborn Beta. Inkborn is the roguelike digital deck building game that I have been a consultant and a developer on. That's Akram Digital, who makes Charterstone Digital. They are working on this game, and recently I've been playing the beta version of it. I have a video coming out about that soon, and it's very different. If you played the combat demo a few months ago, it's not. Not different. It is. You can see all the different layers that they're adding to the game, the additional layers that they're adding to the game. If you check out the beta, I believe it is a closed beta, but I think you can apply to be a beta tester for Inkborn, and also the early launch, the early access to the game should be later in July. So this game that I've been talking about for a while, this digital roguelike that has some really cool combos, a lot of card upgrades that you can do, should be available for you to check out on Steam and maybe other platforms too. But I know for sure Steam later in July. So I'm excited about that. The last topic is Wingspan Asia Digital is now available on all platforms. That DLC was added, or you can add the DLC. You have to pay for it and add it to your copy of Wingspan Digital. It became available on Monday. I've played it a few times already and also filmed a video about that and had a blast with it. I mean, I love Wingspan Asia. I really love the duet mode because it makes playing bird cards feel even better. You get this extra reward whenever you play a bird card. So if you haven't played Wingspan Asia, I highly recommend checking it out on Wingspan Digital or the tabletop, but I also just recommend the digital version. I know Monster Couch put a lot of work into this, and I really appreciate all the time they spent implementing this whole new mode and all the new bird cards in Wingspan Asia. Ian's book recommendation of the day is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Not even finished yet, but a great book. I agree, Ian. I read it when it came out a few years ago. It is an excellent book. I believe it's also being made into a movie, but the book is really, really good. Right now, I am reading, what am I reading right now? Oh, I am reading the latest book from Adrian Tchaikovsky. I believe it's called Shroud. I'm going to look that up to see, because I highly recommend this. Adrian Tchaikovsky, I think, is one of the best authors at exploring kind of other planets that could exist. Sci-fi, he's a sci-fi writer. Other planets that could exist, and exploring how little changes in that planet's development result in very different ecosystems and creatures than we see on Earth. And that is the case for this book. I will give you the name. The world that they're exploring is called Shroud, but I want to see if that's the name of the actual book. Looks like I pre-ordered it a while ago, so I don't know if I'll actually see it. I'll have to look it up. But this is Adrian Tchaikovsky. Here we go. He's known for the Children of Time series, which is a different series, but one where he explores this idea of how different creatures evolve in a different way on a certain planet. Shroud. Okay, I got it right. The book is called Shroud. I am really, really enjoying it. And one of the major hooks of the book that you find out right from the start is that this world that they're exploring is very dark. Like there's very little light gets through to the surface of the world, and how a world might evolve if it has very, very little light in the world. So that is the book Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I'm reading that right now. I'm really enjoying it. We also, in terms of TV, we have just started watching The Devil's Plan Season 2, a fantastic and fairly elaborate Korean competition show that has a lot of tabletop game elements built into the show. Really enjoying it so far. We're also finishing up the half-hour comedy called, I'm going to blank on the name right now. Has Kate Hudson in it. It's a comedy about Kate Hudson running a basketball team. Really good. And A Running Point is what I believe it's called. And we're finishing up Poker Face Season 2, which is just as excellent as Poker Face Season 1. There we go. Christy says, Vantage plays up to 6 players. Did you find a lot of downtime between turns? Great question, Christy. It's a turn-based game. So there is time between turns, but I wouldn't call it downtime because you are involved in every single turn of the game. Whether you are assisting the player who is you're mechanically assisting the player, the active player, or if you are learning from what that player is seeing and talking and trying, or you are sharing your knowledge with them from things that you have tried, knowledge that you've accumulated as you've played Vantage. So downtime, no. There is time between turns at higher player counts. Mark says, I've joined my first math trade in my local upcoming convention. Have you had any experience in doing a math trade to get rid of games you don't really want anymore and gain some used games that you want? Mark, that's a great question. I don't have any experience with that. Some people in the comments might have experience with that, but I never tried a math trade. My typical method is once a year, typically around the time of Stonemaier Games Design Day, I go through my collection and I find any game that I haven't played in a year or don't think I will play in the foreseeable future, and I give it to Design Day attendees just as a gift for them attending. Speaking of conventions, Jeremy mentioned, do I go to conventions? Any plan for this year? We do have a conventions page of our website if you want to check out details about Stonemaier Games' involvement in conventions. As for Jamey, my personal involvement in conventions, I always attend Geekway to the West if I'm in town. Geekway to the West is a great just come and play games convention in St. Louis. Sometimes I attend Gen Con, but I haven't attended in a while. I help run and part of a convention here in St. Louis run by Stonemaier Games called the Stonemaier Games Design Day. And those are really the primary ones. I'm not a particularly convention-driven person, even though I love playing games. But I'm trying to incorporate more conventions where I just go and play games for a few days with a variety of wonderful people. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more of that into my travel and vacation schedule. Although vacation, it ends up being partially work, partially vacation. Elizabeth says, coming from someone not very familiar with the gaming industry, how did the ideas for games come about? It's a great question, Elizabeth. And I actually have a video recently, if you're curious about ideas in general. I have a video where I share 20 of the many, many hundreds of game ideas that I've had over the years. I shared them in a video about a few weeks ago, and I asked for people to pick their favorite ideas from that video that I might consider working on. For me, I typically get ideas for games by playing other tabletop games, by watching reviews and playthroughs about tabletop games and digital games, and just from I know this sounds odd, but just from consuming content in general, from reading books, from watching TV shows and watching movies. That's how I often get ideas for themes of games that I might pair with mechanical ideas that I've gotten from playing other games or learning about other games. Banter and Board says, so excited for Vantage. Thank you. How many players can play, and are there ways to bookmark everyone's progress? I imagine maybe not, since everyone may be at different places simultaneously. So yeah, a couple different answers to that. Vantage plays 1 to 6 players, and it is not a campaign game. So just like most tabletop games, you sit down, you play Vantage, and you crash on the planet, you play a game, and then you clean up, and you're done. So there's no real need to bookmark anyone's progress. It's just you just play the game. You are correct that players crash land on different parts of the planet, so it's very, very rare in Vantage that you will be on the same location as another player. That's kind of a core hook of the game, that you were spread out across the planet, but you can still talk to each other. You can still share advice, skills, like mechanically, you can share skills and abilities. But yeah, you're rarely on the same location. As for your progress, the game shows your progress by the cards that you've acquired. That's typically the main way the game shows your progress. Like you build this grid of cards from cards that you acquire as you're playing the game. But yeah, it's not a campaign game, so there's no need to bookmark or save the game. You just sit down and play, and then you clean up and you're done. And then you'll come back, get to the table again, and crash land on the planet in a new place, with the only persistent element being your accumulated knowledge of how the planet works and what the planet is all about, what the actions mean, things like that. Yeah. Chad said he took his son out for disc golf. Owen's first round of disc golf. He said Owen made it 4 holes, then he got distracted by rabbits and turtles. A valid thing to get excited about. I'd be excited about rabbits and turtles as well. What's the coolest animal you have come across at a course? That would probably be a moose. I think we've actually had 2 moose show up on courses that we played in Colorado, and which might be where you're from, Chad, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, we visited. I believe both courses were in Colorado. One might have been in the Yosemite area, but I think both were in Colorado. And one was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. That was where we got the closest to the moose, because we essentially had to throw. Obviously, we weren't throwing at the moose, but there was a basket about 50 feet to the left of a young moose who was just hanging out, eating. And it was a basket that on the course that we needed to throw at. I guess we could have skipped it, but we didn't. We threw at it. And it was a little nerve-wracking. Moose are incredible animals, but they can be dangerous if they're spooked, or if there's a mama around and you're near her calves. But we were careful, and the moose didn't mind us, and we moved right along after throwing at it. Yeah. See, Austin is reading, and there's a question for everyone. If you're reading a great book right now and want to share it, please share it in the comments. I love hearing about great book recommendations or TV shows or movies, anything that you are consuming right now that you are really enjoying. I love hearing about it. Austin says that he's going to read Project Hail Mary, and he says that he's working through Karen Slaughter's Will, Trent, and Grant County series. Nice, Austin. I'm not familiar with those. Jeremy says, what's my favorite book? Really tough to pick my favorite book, but here, I keep a running spreadsheet. I can share some of my favorite books from this year that I've read so far. On the list right now is, I'm going to add Shroud to it. Really enjoying Shroud right now. I just finished a Viking romantasy called A Fate Inked in Blood that I rather enjoyed. I was in the mood for a rom-com. I love rom-com movies, and so I read a book called The Rom-Commers and really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the cozy book, The Spell Shop. If you've read, what is it? Legends and Lattes, a very cozy fantasy-themed book set in a coffee shop. Very similar vibe to that. Very cozy, very comforting, very warm with a slight fantasy element. The Spell Shop, I would recommend that if you enjoyed Legends and Lattes. I enjoyed the book Sunrise on the Reaping. That was a Hunger Games prequel, the latest Hunger Games prequel to come out. And it looks like almost every book on my list so far this year has been a 4.5 or a 5 on my ratings out of 5. So a lot of books to recommend here. Yeah, those are a few of them that I recommend. Actually, another one by an author that I really love, Fonda Lee. Her latest book is Breath of the Dragon, a new series I think that she's starting. Really, really good. She wrote it with the daughter, I believe, of not Jet Li, but not Jackie Chan. One of the most famous like kung fu movie stars. I'm blanking on the name right now, but a famous. She wrote it with the daughter of a famous kung fu movie star. And what else? A lot of great. I'm just seeing a lot of great books on my list this year. It's been a really good book, a really good year for lists for books so far. Steve says, I'm about halfway through the current season of The Devil's Plan. Are you watching it? Yes, I am watching it right now. And can we expect some show notes? Yeah, I haven't done a video about The Devil's Plan yet, so I will be doing a video on it soon. I love when you comment on these reality competition shows. I actually filmed a video just the other day about my top 10 favorite reality competition shows. That'll be live sometime in the next few months. Okay, I'm a little behind on questions, so I'm going to speed through these a little bit and focus on questions for a minute. Julio says, my best friend is moving to Japan in a few months. He'll be there for a week, not a week and a half, a year and a half. We're thinking about doing a BGA game night. Any tips and tricks? So the Board Game Arena game night that I am a part of is that we play every 2 weeks. We play at a specific time, and we get on Discord to do it. That is my preferred way to play on Board Game Arena, where I'm live with someone else. I can at least, maybe I can't see them, but I can hear them as we're playing the game. I really enjoy that. But I know a lot of people really do enjoy playing on Board Game Arena asynchronously, where they're not playing in real time. That can work as well. Not my style of play, but I know a lot of people play a lot of games. I can get through a lot of sessions of games, especially if you want to go deep into a game. I think that might be a good way to play. But yeah, just I think setting up a Discord server to hang out on and choose a specific time is a great way to connect with someone from around the world. I really enjoy that aspect of our Board Game Arena nights. Jeremy says, do you think Vantage avoids quarterbacking in the game? It happens with some co-op games. It does happen with some co-op games. I have a really detailed update. If you want to check out the Vantage page of our website, you can see a detailed update about how Vantage avoids quarterbacking. But the core element here is that in Vantage, you are not on the same location as anyone else. You are looking at a location from a first-person perspective that no one else can see. So you are able to share as much or as little as you want. It's a fully cooperative game, so there's no real reason why you wouldn't share. But if you start to get the sense that someone is just telling you what to do, you have full agency. They cannot actually tell you what to do. You get to choose the action that is important to you. But if someone is really kind of being maybe a little pushy about that, and you're starting to not feel comfortable with it, you can just not tell them information on your location. You can say, okay, I'm going to look at my location. I'm not going to tell you the actions that are on here. I'm not going to describe to you what I'm looking at. I'm not going to read the description on the location. I'm just going to kind of keep that to myself to have my own agency and control here. You also have full control over the skills, the abilities that you share with other players. Really, Vantage is all about giving you, each individual player, the freedom to choose the things that they want to do and how they want to interact, how you want to interact, and how you want to explore the planet. So while it is a fully cooperative game, you are there if you want to help out the other players and to work towards the mission or your final destination. It's also very, like, you have full control over what you see and what you do in the game. You don't have control of the outcomes. Always there is a roll of the dice that you can mitigate. And you also don't really know what you're going to get from an action that is determined by the action itself. But other players can't quarterback. They can't control what you do or the choices that you make. Michelle says, do you have any favorite Devil's Plan games? So far, we've only watched 2 episodes of the new season, and my memory is foggy about the original season. But I actually really like the first elimination game that they play in the season 2. It's like as they were explaining it and playing it, I was like, oh, I genuinely just want to play this game. I think this looks like a lot of fun. The first game of season 2 is very similar to Scotland Yard, which is my favorite hidden movement game. It's not exactly Scotland Yard, a little bit more complex in it, and I love the simplicity and streamlined nature of Scotland Yard, but I do like that. Anthony says, are there any updates to the progress chart? I update that once a month, Anthony, so I'll update it in early July. As far as I know, there aren't any updates compared to a few weeks ago when I last updated it. Oh, here we go. Jeff has an answer. So Jeff got to play Vantage at Geekway Mini, and he says, I never felt any downtime and was fully engaged on all the others' turns. And that's quite a compliment, Jeff, because that's coming from a convention atmosphere, which is probably not the best for an adventure game where you're reading text from a storybook. But to say that you were fully engaged when it wasn't your turn is great to hear. I'm glad you had fun with that game, Jeff. I had fun watching you all play and teaching you all how to play it. Michelle recommends the All Aboard Games Expo in the Philippines. Is that, Michelle, like I said, I'm always looking for conventions where I can just go and play games for a few days. Is that style of convention? Chad says, I noticed Big Germ said that he designed his own card game. Were you curious about how it played? You know, I may have missed that, Chad. I know Germ talked a lot about designing. He wants to design his own Wingspan cards, and he also has designed a lot of accessories for Wingspan. But I must have missed that about a non-Wingspan card game. George says, are plans, employees, and arts and architecture available for Tapestry on Board Game Arena? I believe they are, but feel free to check. Maybe I'll try to pull up Board Game Arena while we're talking here to see. I definitely have given Board Game Arena permission to add those, not the full expansions, but to add the civilizations to Board Game Arena. So we'll see if they've actually done that. I don't know for sure if they have. Here, I'm going to look real quick to see if Tapestry has those civs. Actually, I don't know if there's a great way for me to check, but I could take a look. I don't know if I can actually find out. I know they have the civ adjustments, although I don't know if they have the final civ adjustments. I don't know for sure, George, but someone who plays Tapestry a lot on Board Game Arena might be able to speak to that. All I know for sure is that I have given them the files for the civilizations to add to Board Game Arena if they want. Sure, Jeremy, hey Jeremy, good to see you. He says, you said that you rotate games out of your collection. Are there any old gems that you've rediscovered? My teenager and I just enjoyed playing Tikal from the friendly local game store library. That's a good question. Any games, older gems that I've rediscovered, especially I like the heart of this question being a game that maybe I played once a while ago, stopped playing it, and then wanted to come back to it. I'm sure that has happened, Jeremy. I'm trying to think. So I know the games that are coming to mind a little bit are whenever I go to family reunions, I often bring games that I think will be fun for my family to play and learn at the family reunion. And if I see someone really connect with the game at the family reunion, I will give them the game. And so I know that I gave away a copy of like Codenames. I gave away King of Tokyo. I gave away Skull. And this wasn't because I don't enjoy these games, but it was because I saw that they were bringing joy to another family member. And so I wanted them to have the game. I think out of those three that come to mind, I think Skull is the one that I probably still love to have in my collection. Because it is just silly fun, really at any given time. I really enjoy the shenanigans that come from Skull. Aaron says, is there a benefit or reason you might want to meet up on a location with another player in Vantage? So if you are on the same location as another player, if Aaron, you and I are we stumble upon each other, or we figure out that we're both in a big desert and we kind of figure out how we can end up on the same location, the advantage there is that we get to share each other's challenge dice slots. So, and we also get to share benefits potentially. So if I take an action, you could potentially benefit from that. Like if I move to another location, the benefit of me moving is to move to that new location. You can just move along with me if you want to. So shared benefits, shared challenge dice slots, there are advantages to doing that. But you also might decide at a certain point to go your separate ways because you want to do different things that I want to do, and that's okay too. So it is possible. There are advantages, but there are also, I guess, you might have intrinsic motivations to move elsewhere and not stay on the same location as someone else. Jeff says, do I have a favorite player in Devil's Play Season 2 yet? So excited there is a board game reviewer in the group. There is, yeah, there's a couple of people. There's an American there that I'm kind of excited to see them because he speaks English, which is nice. Everyone else speaking Korean. And there is someone who is deeply into board games on the show. They showed his collection. I was like, oh, wow, this person really, really loves board games. I'm not familiar with his reviews, but it was neat to see that on the show. Chad says, with Vantage being a big open world game, is the fact that it's not a campaign your biggest challenge? Can we help by mentioning the fact when talking about the game online? Chad, I appreciate you asking about that. I think it is definitely an assumption when someone hears big open world game, they might assume that it is a campaign game, but it is a core feature of the game that it is not a campaign game. It is a single session game. And I really can't overemphasize the thrill of crashing on the planet. It is really fun to start over from scratch every time you play and see what you can build up very rapidly. The game offers really fast progression because it doesn't have to like spread out the progression over multiple sessions because it is a single session non-campaign game. So Chad, yeah, if feel free to mention that far and wide when you're talking about Vantage so that idea can come across as much as possible. Garrett says, what's the last movie you saw in a theater? What's the next one going to be? Good question, Garrett. I'm certainly curious about the new Pixar movie. I think I'll probably see that in the theater because I do love Pixar movies. The last movie that we saw was, we saw almost back-to-back. We saw Thunderbolts, and then we saw Mission Impossible. Those are the last two that we saw in the theater fairly recently. Yeah. What about you, Garrett? Is there an upcoming movie that you are very excited to see in the theater? That also reminds me that I should throw out to you my question of the day today. Soon I will be filming a current video about my favorite roll and write games or blank and write games. So flip and write, whatever it is, blank and write games. And I've pretty much come up with my list, but I wanted to see, are there any roll and write games that you believe are under the radar, but that you really, really love and that you think I should try to seek out and play before I film my new updated roll and write game video? Yeah, that's the question for you. Let me know in the comments if you can think of anything like that. Okay, Chad, I remembered correctly. Chad is in Michigan, not Colorado, so he's not going to encounter moose up in Michigan. Jeremy says, have you read the book Manhunt? It's an amazing story where the amount of historical detail is insane about the 2-week manhunt for John Wilkes Booth. I didn't realize it took 2 weeks for them to catch him. I haven't read that, but that sounds like a really interesting read. Bruce Lee. Hey, thanks, Steve, for coming up with that. I should have been able to come up with Bruce Lee, but it is the daughter of Bruce Lee, and Fonda Lee wrote The Breath of the Dragon, Fonda Lee's latest book. Sub-Zero Leon says, have you bought or look forward to any board games? I've bought many board games, yeah. I just bought Toy Battle and a ton of other board games. I've heard great things about Toy Battle. Let me know what you think about that when you get the chance to play it. My latest purchases / arrivals, I just played Mistborn, actually. I've played Mistborn, the deck building game, before, but I just played my copy that I bought for the first time with Megan this past weekend. Had a great time with that. Also just played the copy of Clank Legacy 2, the second Clank Legacy that I bought. We finished up the campaign. We didn't quite actually finish the campaign, but we declared game 8 to be our final game, and we played our last session of the campaign game, Clank Legacy. That is another game that I bought. What is my most recent purchase? Probably Here Lies. It's a deduction game, deduction / mystery game with a lot of party game elements built into it. I've enjoyed playing that. I also played, I didn't buy it, but I played Citadels on Board Game Arena recently, and I enjoyed seeing the new art from Andrew Bosley. Played Inkborn, Wingspan Asia. Yeah, those are some of the games that I played recently. I also played disc golf. Oh, and I wrote a post. This past weekend was Father's Day, so I revisited a post that I wrote about my dad who passed away in 2022. I revisited a post about how he has impacted me and impacted Stonemaier Games, specifically in my involvement in Stonemaier Games. Seeing some other book recommendations here. Wendy's reading the Jaws log about the making of Jaws. You know, Wendy, I am curious to see Jaws on the big screen. I have only seen Jaws, and it's been a long time, but I've only seen it on a small screen, and so it might be a lot of fun to see that on the big screen. Monkey Butler Labs recommends 4 Seasons on Netflix. I enjoyed that too. I really, really enjoyed that recently. Blue says, just got out of a work meeting, came here to ask, have you seen Scavenger's Reign? And if so, anything in Vantage influenced by it? I consider it to be a masterpiece of world building. You know, last year when we were playtesting Vantage, a lot of the playtesters said, Jamey, you should check out the show Scavenger's Reign. I still have not actually watched it. So it has not influenced Vantage, but I'm very curious about it. I do intend to watch it. It's on my list. Jacob is watching the Tolkien books, the Legendarium, listening to the Fellowship right now, watching videos, essays, and consuming other content. We'll have to play War of the Ring while it's still fresh. That's cool to dive back into those, Jacob. Kind of the heart of modern fantasy right there. Oh, cool. Wow. Chad says that he's actually met Shannon Lee. That's Bruce Lee's daughter for work. That's really cool. And he met Stan Lee as well. A lot of Lees that you've met. David says, I asked a question near the end of the stream about content ideas. It's out of scope at the top 10, but I think your enthusiasm and insights might really make it work. David, can you repeat the suggestion about content ideas? Yeah, refresh me, David, on your suggestion, if you don't mind. My question of the day last week was ideas for like top 10 videos, and I got a bunch of great ideas. I've already started pursuing some of them. So I really appreciate that feedback. Yeah. Gaming Rules. Here's Paul from Gaming Rules. Paul, I really appreciate you getting set up for the playthrough. Paul's going to run a live playthrough of Vantage on Friday. If you want to check that out this Friday. Tony is asking for recommendations for friendly local game stores in Toronto, if anyone has any suggestions there. Okay, Paul says, did I ever consider Vantage as a campaign game? And Paul, I did. It was a big debate for me throughout the design process. As I was populating the world with actions and cards and locations, I really vacillated as to whether or not it would be a campaign game. But it was when I started actually playtesting it using the minimal viable product version of Vantage to playtest it that I realized how much fun it is to crash on the planet and to start over from scratch and to build up really quickly and then to close the door on that adventure and then start over again the next time you play. So I realized just how much fun that was, and that kind of anchored the idea that this would not be a campaign game. I think it is possible that there are people that will play Vantage and will think, oh, I wish I could spread this out over multiple sessions. You probably could. Vantage can play 2 to 3 hours, but even 3+ hours if you get really, really powerful and you aren't a threat for losing actions. You just want to keep exploring the world. You can do that. So you could play Vantage over multiple sessions if you wanted to. But it is designed to be a game that you set up and play and then clean up and then you start over again the next time you play. Let's see, just looking for other questions as I fall behind on time a little bit here. Chad says, I know you are an Agricola fan. I am indeed an Agricola fan. It was one of the core games that I played. In fact, I need to add that. Someone asked me to film a list of games that have really influenced me, and Agricola is definitely on that list. I'm going to add that to the list right now. But Chad's question is, any interest in taking out a loan to back the GameFound campaign? I'm not backing the campaign on GameFound. It does look great. I think they've done a great job in making up a fresh version of Agricola. So far, I'm not backing it, but I might. We'll see. Mark says, will there be any reviewers getting early copies to drop reviews when the release date happens? No need to list names. Mark, yeah, there are advanced copy reviews that have already been sent. And starting this Friday, you will see reviews, playthroughs, and a watch it play rules video. That's starting this Friday, so they may not all come out Friday. Hopefully, there will be some that come out a little bit after that too, because the planned launch for the game on our web store isn't until July 9th. Corey from Blue Falcon is saying that him and his wife are heading to Ravenwood Castle in Hawkins Hills, Ohio, for a 10-year wedding anniversary. He's checking in tomorrow. That's awesome. I hope you have a wonderful time at Ravenwood. I believe you've been there before. Did you find like a disc golf course near there one time that you played, or you just going to the castle for fun? Happy anniversary, though. Happy 10th anniversary. That's wonderful, Corey. Jeremy's going to. Jeremy, I didn't even know we had a drive-in theater here in St. Louis, but that's great. I hope you enjoy the new Pixar film there. Tony says, are you familiar with the work and design of Nick Metzler, the game designer that was on Got to Get Out? So we did just finish the show Got to Get Out, and it was very entertaining to watch Nick on the show. I did not know Nick until he was on the show, and he mentioned that he was actually a game designer. So I looked up some of his work. I recognized a few of his games. I don't think I've played any of them though. But yeah, I thought he did a great job being a game designer on a reality competition show, and I would gladly watch him on other shows like that as well. And I'm curious about his designs now as well. Garrett says the next movie that he thinks he'll see in the theater is The Fantastic Four. I am really excited about that as well. Also excited about the Superman movie. And his daughter's excited about Wicked for Good. Megan has been watching Wicked a lot. We did watch the movie about a month ago, and then ever since then, she's been rewatching certain parts of the movie quite a bit. She really likes the music. Ian recommends Fleet the Dice game. Ian, I have played Fleet the Dice game once, and I did really enjoy it. Sorry, I pushed new comments and it jumped me way ahead here. I'll flip back a little bit. Okay, Paul says about Vantage, what was the hardest game for me to design? Maybe it was balancing issues. What was the hardest game for me to design? Maybe it was balancing issues or trying to get a theme to match the mechanism or something similar. Which was the trickiest to make? I've had a couple of games be tricky in different ways, Paul. Vantage was tricky because of the scope. If I wanted to make a single change to the game that impacted the whole game, it would often take me weeks to apply because I had to apply that change to 800 locations in the game. Charterstone was really difficult to navigate because Charterstone is a campaign game with branching paths. And so if I wanted to change something anywhere along those paths, it impacted everything else in a kind of a mind-bending way. The game that I think I struggled the most to design was Expeditions, because I really wanted Expeditions to capture the feeling of Scythe without being Scythe 2, because Scythe already exists. I didn't want to just remake Scythe. And so that was really challenging. I designed Expeditions from scratch like 8 or 9 times. So I would say that was definitely one of the more difficult games for me to design. I'll read. I see a Riverside. I asked. My question today was about roll and writes that have flown under the radar that people recommend that I play before I film my current favorite roll and write games list. I see Riverside, Joan of Arc. Garrett, another different Garrett than usual, said just received Pendulum for Father's Day. That's wonderful. Happy Father's Day. Any tips for the first play? For the first play of Pendulum, I would recommend starting the game on untimed mode. There's an untimed mode where you don't use the timers to get kind of the feel of the flow of the game, and then add in the timers even as you're like midway through game 1. You can add in the timers if you want. Garrett says, what was the process for getting involved in the Game Makers? A similar situation to Rolling Realms where they asked permission to use some Stonemaier games. It was kind of similar. Yeah, they asked if they could put one of our games on the cover and have it show up on a card in the game. And we said yes, and we signed a document. A little bit different than Rolling Realms, where we were actually like creating a mini game around a different game, and we were paying the other company. We did not receive any payment from the Game Makers. There's Joshua mentions a game called The Anarchy, another roll and write game. Fliptown, I have played Fliptown, Pete. Roll and write Marsh Hollow. I haven't heard of that one. Laura says, do you play games solo? Do you have a favorite? If so, Laura, I don't play many tabletop games solo. And I know this is going to sound like I'm a little bit biased about my own games, but honestly, the game that I play solo the most and that I enjoy solo more than any other game is Vantage, the game that I have coming out soon. Vantage, as much as I love cooperating with other people and playing it with other people, I really love how kind of chill it is to play it solo, and it's very easy to get to the table solo. I'm very curious to see what, and I don't usually play games solo, but I really, really love Vantage solo. I played a few other games solo, but that is the main one that I think I will come back to time after time to play solo. See, En Route from Jacob recommended that. The Pathfinder Club game. Bloom Chasers. Oh, I see. These are just general suggestions for my collection, not roll and write games. Bloom Chasers, How to Save a World, Cyber Pet Quest. Yeah, I think How to Save a World just came out. I'm curious about that one. Paul is recommending an amazing book trilogy or quadrilogy, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Tad Williams. It's a trilogy that inspired George R.R. Martin to write Game of Thrones, but not as verbose as Martin's writing. That's kind of a plus in my opinion. The final book is split into 2 parts for the paperback version. That's cool. Yeah, I haven't read that, but I think I've heard that recommended before, Paul. I appreciate that recommendation from Tad Williams. Michelle has a bunch of recommendations for roll and write. Cascadia, Three Sisters, Imperial Settlers, Roll Through the Ages, Flip and Write, Welcome To, and Paper Dungeon. Of those, I've only played Welcome To, so I appreciate that list. Jeremy says, if you were going to Gen Con, what would you personally look forward to playing or doing? We literally spent 12 hours playing Werewolf last year and introduced his kid to Battletech. I'm glad that you found like the right thing for you at Gen Con. There's a lot to do there, and I think it's okay to just focus on one thing that feels right to you. if I were going to go to Gen Con, for me, it would probably be for Stonemaier Games to teach our games, to share our games to people, and to talk about our games. I honestly, I probably wouldn't go to Gen Con just for fun, just because I just want to, when I go to a convention, I just want to play games, or play new to me games in particular. And Gen Con does have a new games room where you can do that, but I guess maybe someday I could go to Gen Con just for that, but I'd be missing out on so many other elements of Gen Con that are maybe more the focus of the convention. Not a great answer there, I think, as I'm talking through it. But yeah, if I were to go back to Gen Con, and I'm considering going back for like a day this year, it will be to be there for people who want to talk about Stonemaier Games, because I do rarely go to Gen Con. Joshua says, are you back in the new Endeavor Deep Sea expansion on Kickstarter? I don't own the core game. I have a friend who owns the core game, so I'm not currently backing it, but I'm guessing that they'll probably back the expansion. And I do love, as you say here, more stuff expansions. I really do love that. Okay, so David's recommendations the last week. He says, in an online board game jam, the results could be a top 10. The second was an amateur board game design review, but for this one, I realized it might be out of scope. Yeah, I'm not really a reviewer, David. I don't review games. I talk about the games from a game design perspective that I end up playing, that I want to play. But specifically, I don't. That's the reason that I don't accept free games or free review copies, because I don't want to feel that sense of obligation that I have to review, or not that I have to talk about something because I accepted it. I just want to pursue the games that I want to play and talk about them on my channel. An online board game jam, those I think do exist. I think the Board Game Design Lab does some of them on their Discord channel, but I haven't participated in them yet. I typically don't. I design typically alone, or if I am going to design with a co-designer, a lot of the work happens separately, and then we get together for a play test and do that together. Jeff says, now that you finished Clank, are you ready for a new campaign like Ticket to Ride Legacy? Still have to get to that with you, Jeff. I don't know if I'm ready right at this moment to jump right into a campaign game, because I kind of just want to enjoy Vantage, not a campaign game for now. But I do later this year, Jeff. We will have to find some time to play Ticket to Ride Legacy, because I definitely still want to play that with you. John says, are there any plans for other languages for Vantage, primarily in Dutch? So, John, on our website, we do have a little bit of information about that. I'll read it out to you because I want to be pretty precise with this language. This is on the Vantage page of our website, and it reads, under localization partners, keep exploring games for Dutch, Surf and Meeple for Chinese, Forland for German, Maldito for Spanish, and Albi for Czech have announced their involvement in localizing Vantage. So, you mentioned Dutch, so Keep Exploring Games has announced their involvement. If anyone is wondering if Vantage will be in their language, their preferred language, and it wasn't on that list, I can't answer the question as to whether or not there is a company working on that language version, because it's that publisher's information to share. But you can always go to that publisher and ask them. And by that publisher, I mean the publishers that we typically work with in any given language are almost always the same. Like Maldito, we work with them in Spanish. Genos, we work with them for Italy. Forland, we work with them in Germany. Madigo in France. So we typically work with the same publishing partners. You can go to them and say, hey, I want Vantage in French. Madigo, are you thinking about making it? Or I would love it if you made Vantage in French. And they can tell you at that time if they are making it or not in their language. Thank you, the Posh Man says, I just want to thank you for all the content. It has taught me a lot about the hobby in a very short time as I dove in over the last few months. Welcome to the hobby. I hope you have felt welcome to the hobby through the videos. It's really important to me to try to use inclusive language when I'm talking about games, but I don't think I always succeed at that. So I hope you're enjoying your dive into the board game hobby so far. Grayson says, might have to get Vantage as a birthday gift to himself on July 9th. Is that your birthday? Grayson, happy upcoming birthday if it is. That is the plan for the launch of Vantage on our web store, if all goes well with the later stages of freight shipping. Stuart says, I know that you've stated that you won't use generative AI for art or anything. I have no interest in using generative AI for anything, but do you see potential AI to assist with playtesting, potentially asking it to find rules, discrepancies, infinite combos, etc.? So Stuart, really the only interest that I have in AI at all is if to augment, in addition to human playtesting, which I will continue doing until the end of time, if we have a game, really any game that has balance, potential balance issues, if I could feed the rulebook and the components into an AI and it could spit out 10,000 playtests in a couple hours, purely for balance, I would use that. I would absolutely use that. In addition to human playtesting, but I have no other interest in any other form of generative AI at all. And I wouldn't actually say that is really generated. That isn't exactly generative AI because it's more operational AI than generative AI. Board Game Eric says, when it comes to games that you design, how often do you play your own games? Do you have a personal goal to play them all within a certain time frame, like annually? I am always happy to play and or teach my games whenever someone asks me to. Every now and then I get an itch to play a particular game, and maybe I'll ask Megan to play, or I'll see if friends want to play. But generally, I wait for people to say, Jamey, I want to play this game that you designed or that you published, and then I'm happy to play it with them. I really am. I love all of our games. I'm happy to play them with people. So I guess that doesn't quite answer your question. How often does that actually happen? I would say I don't always play all of our games every year because people don't always ask for them all of our games every year. Typically, I end up playing new releases a lot when they come out because I'm teaching them to a lot of people. And I would say I would play about half of our games once or twice a year based on other people requesting them. Yeah. I am also seeing all the suggestions here for roll and write games. I'm gonna go through them later as well to make sure that I've seen them. Susanna, my coworker, mentions an older flip and write. Was Silver and Gold, and I really do like Silver and Gold. That's a really, really good one. Garrett says, have I tried GMTK's latest game, Wordplay? It's actually quite clever. I think you'd enjoy the demo. Lasts around 30 to 45 minutes. Wordplay. I played a game recently that you used like spelling and words. Let me see if I have a video about this one coming out soon. I played a word game. What was the word game called? I played Typeset. I didn't play, so no, I have not played Wordplay yet, but I'll have to check that out, and I appreciate your recommendation. The Poshman says, which of your games you design do you get to the table most often? It's really usually, I would go back to the answer about the newer games. Like this year, the games that I played the most so far are Tokaido, Wingspan, and Vantage. So usually whatever games that released that year are the ones that I've played the most often. Actually, the game of ours that I have played the most often overall is Rolling Realms. Rolling Realms, because I do a live play once a month, and so I get that to the table kind of solo, but also other people playing along live. And in the future, I get that to I get that to the table 12 times a year based on my current play habits for it. Seven Castles Games, have you already come up with a small game in terms of box size, or are you looking for one? Smitten, as you can kind of see off camera here, Smitten fits into a little envelope. It's a 1 to 2 player cooperative game. That fits in a very small space. Rolling Realms is a smaller box, not a tiny box, but a smaller box. And we have a game coming out. We have a game in the works that will be in a fairly small box. So we do have some in smaller boxes that are coming out in the future. Oh yeah, Helen noticed that Walter is in the background here. Hey, Walter. Walter. And he doesn't care, but he cares about you all. Doesn't care about my voice. Michael says, "Is there a game you never win but never win?" Or maybe you're trying to say a game that I love but never win. Recently, I picked up Trinket Trove and I love it. 20+ games with his girlfriend, and he's never won. There are many games that I love that I never win, or that I rarely win. When I often play heavier games with a group that really loves heavy games. They're very good at heavy games. If I play a deck building game with Megan, she maybe always wins. I don't know if I've ever won a deck building game against Megan. But yeah, I do. For me, when I play a game, the joy does not come from winning the game. The joy comes from the other people at the table, and often trying something fun, going down a fun path that I enjoy in the game. That's how I often get enjoyment out of the games that I play. Michael asked, is there going to be a Smitten 2? Michael, I think there might be a Smitten 2 in the future. We'll see about that. But I think that's a great question about what might come in the future. Jacob also enjoys this game, Wordplay. Need to check that out then. Wordplay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that at all. Okay, so Stuart did recommend a list of games that I love would always lose. I think I may have said that the list would be like all the games that I love, because I rarely win games that I play. The Poshman says, I haven't heard you talk about Root in many of your videos, other than shortly as an honorable mention in your ranking of asymmetric games. What are your thoughts on it overall? So I do have a video about Root. It does come up in my videos about asymmetric games as well. Root, I am really, so I played Vast before Root, and then I played Root, and I was really impressed in Root by how they streamlined isn't, maybe it's not exactly the correct word, but how they took these very asymmetric elements and used a shared deck of cards for all players, even within those elements. I'm really impressed by that. The reason that I don't play Root very often is that a turn Root is often so many steps that I typically I gravitate towards games that have quick and simple turns or games that have simultaneous play. And Root has fairly complex turns that you have to go through while you're waiting for everyone else, or while everyone else is waiting for you to take your turn. So I know people who know Root really well can probably take those turns much faster, but I am a fairly fast player. I tend to like plan ahead for my turn, and in games that have like many different steps you have to follow on your turn, I've just found that the downtime in Root is considerable. Even though downtime, as I explained earlier about Vantage, isn't even accurate about Root, because you are still involved when it's not your turn, especially if someone's engaging with you on the map. But I guess the time between your turns, I'll use the word time instead of downtime, it can be considerable in Root when you're playing with, 4 or 5 players. But it is a game that I need to get back to, because I am endlessly impressed by the asymmetry in the game. Every time I play a different faction in Root, I'm like, wow, this is like a whole game in itself that they came up with. Tony says, did I ever get the kimchi stain off our wall? Tony's referring to something that happened earlier this year, where I opened a fresh can of kimchi that a friend had prepared for me, and it exploded all over our white walls. We mostly got it out. If you look closely, you can kind of still see it there, but for the most part, we got it out. Kurt says, I have Rolling Realms. Thanks for getting that original version. Kurt, through the years, I've been purchasing add-ons as game. Is there a way to get the Rolling Realms Redux? There is. Yeah, Kurt, we have Rolling Realms Redux on our web stores right now. Stores have it too. Yeah, it's available right now if you want to pick up a copy. And it's the best bang for your buck for getting a bunch of realms. I think it comes with 12 realms for what I think is a great price to get 12 realms. Chad says, I really appreciated Earthborn Rangers' focus on sustainability. And I agree, that was inspiring for me as I was getting through the product design stages of Vantage. Would you need the theme of a game to be environmentally focused in order to go all in with sustainable components and packaging? I don't think so. Like if you look at Vantage, it is almost entirely made of FSC certified wood. The only things that aren't FSC certified in it are the plastic dice. And we did consider wooden dice, but they just didn't feel as good. And so with sustainability, I'm always pairing what is the most sustainable decision that also adds the most value and feels right for the game, offers the best experience for the game. Those things are sometimes in conflict with each other. And in the end, I want to offer the best of both if I can. Yeah. Let's see if I have anything else here to talk about. Any other topics? I did a few movies that we watched over the weekend. We watched a movie that I thought was going to be more rom-com than scary. It was a movie called Heart Eyes. It's kind of a movie about a romantic comedy happening while there is a killer on the loose, and it was pretty good. It was way more gory than I want from a romantic comedy, because it was, even though it wasn't scary, it was gory, which I thought was interesting. But then we watched a movie that was not gory or scary, but it was lovely in many different ways in terms of the music, the acting, the character development, and the humor was really nice and surprising. And that is The Ballad of Wallace Island. We watched that the other day, and I really, really liked it. I particularly liked the music in it. I thought it was excellent. And it is a movie a little bit about music, even though it is a musical. The Ballad of Wallace Island, really, really enjoyed that. What else is going on? I am doing a lot of things with the Finspan and Wingspan expansions, which are currently in graphic design stage. We're really involved in them right now. Also approving some pre-production copies of some other products that are a little bit farther ahead in the process. And I also wanted to recommend, I'm still enjoying the show Game Changer on Dropout. And the most recent episode of Game Changer, this is a game show where the rules change every time you play. It's a completely different game every time they have an episode of it. The latest episode is incredible. One of my favorite episodes ever of Game Changer was the latest episode of season 7 that was just released this past Monday. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a really amusing show about little challenges and making the contestants feel really special when they accomplish those challenges. Oh, so Kurt, you're asking if you could get some of the Rolling Realms Redux realms without buying the entire game. So buying them individually a la carte. I'm sorry, we don't offer that. They're only offered all packaged together in Rolling Realms Redux. Mike says from the UK, hey Mike, thanks for popping in right at the end here. Do you have an inclining if a game will be a hit before you release it? Do the playthroughs give you an idea of that at all? Oh, I see what you're saying. Do I have an inclination, a feeling, if when we have an upcoming game, if it will be financially successful, if a lot of people will buy that game based on the early reviews and playthroughs and content? And sometimes, yeah, I mean, we gather a lot of different data points that we use oftentimes to determine how many copies of the game that we make. We've already made Vantage so that we can ship it to you as soon as you start buying it in early July. But yeah, we have a bunch of different data points, and a bunch of good reviews are often a sign that that a game will do well. The best data point for me to look at, the most useful and most accurate data point, is how many people have signed up for that game's newsletter to learn about the launch. And for Vantage, so far it's over 10,000 people have signed up on the newsletter to learn more about Vantage and to hopefully get a launch notification on July 9th. If July 9th is still the date, we're aiming for July 9th. Eric says, can you tell me when the localized version will be released? You should ask the localization partner for that. Yeah, that's not my information to share, and I honestly don't know. They have a lot of text to translate in Vantage before they can release it, though. Let's see, a few more questions here. The Infinite Dude says, in Vantage, within a session, will some players' games last longer than others, like in Tapestry? No, in Vantage, the game will end at the same time for all players. Yeah, and all players will take the same number of turns. Well, I guess not. You might be one turn off from another player. Like if player A started the game and the game ends right before it gets to player D, then player D might have one fewer turn. Helen says, is it July 9th yet? Not quite yet, but getting close, Helen. Kurt says, have you thought about or be willing to donate copies of Vantage to charity-based board game conventions or use as a raffle item to raise more money for their charity? Kurt, we have very specific methods that we use for contributing to charities. We get a lot of charitable requests, and we have a donation form that we use for organizations that want to actively use our games on an ongoing basis. They don't really request specific games, but they tell us some information on that form. But it's not for raffles. We don't donate for giveaways or for raffles. We don't donate games to game conventions to give away. We do donate games to play and win sections at conventions. Again, they can't really request specific games. We choose the games that we decide to donate, but we do for play and win sections at conventions specifically. That is when we donate games to conventions. We also have an annual charity auction to which we have donated, I think, well over $100,000 at this point, where we put some of our games up for auction, and we match the final bid, and the final bid plus our match goes to a charitable organization selected by the content creator associated with that charity, that auction item. The Poshman says, do you have a particular favorite game mechanism that I like the most? Check out my recent YouTube videos, because I have a series of videos about my favorite mechanism where I talk about my top, like very recently, you could see this video. It has a purple banner that says it's part 3 of my favorite mechanism series. And so I have a lot of favorite mechanisms, but you can see some of my favorites on that series. Some of my favorites do include deck builders, worker placement, engine building. Those are some of my favorites. All right, last question of the day. I see it from Joe here. How excited are you for players to get Vantage in their hands? Can't wait to explore the world. Thank you, Joe, for that excitement. And I am really incredibly excited for people to play Vantage. I've been talking about it, thinking about Vantage for many, many years, and trying to think about what I can do to provide the best experience for you when you play Vantage. So I am really, really excited for that to happen in the very near future. In July, in mid-July, people will be able to have Vantage and start to play Vantage. Yeah, I'm so excited about that. I'll end on that excitement. Thank you all for joining me for today's live cast, for asking these questions, for providing your answers about roll and write games. I really appreciate that. I hope I haven't even done a treat of the day. I have some really good Vietnamese coffee that I'm drinking. That'll be my treat of the day right now. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care.